Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPad Air 6th generation or the M2 iPad Air and compare it against the iPad 10th generation that came out about 2 years ago almost. Now, both these iPads are very, very different. The iPad Air M2 model is basically costing $599, where the iPad 10th generation is costing $349. So there are massive differences between these two, especially from a price tag standpoint. So if you want to pick up either one of these particular iPads, if you want to buy the cheaper one or the more expensive one, links will be down in the description for the cheapest prices I can find on Amazon. They'll be linked down below. You can get that from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside and probably some of the bigger differences I can tell, at least from the exterior, the color selection is a slight difference. So with the iPad 10th generation, there's 4 colors, same exact thing for the iPad Air, but they're like different colors. There's like a silver model between both, but you can get like blue, red, or yellow on the iPad 10. The iPad Air 11-inch model, the M2 model, you can get space gray, you can get starlight purple, and blue. So some interesting color choices on both. On the iPad 10 on the front, you're getting a 10.9-inch liquid retina display. And it's a very good looking panel for what it is. It basically stemmed off like what the iPad Air 4 kind of was giving you at that time, or the iPad Air 5. Basically almost the same type of display. It's a good display. You're getting True Tone on it, very slim bezel around it, and overall it's a good looking panel. There's definitely been worse panels than this thing, and I do think this is still a very, very good looking iPad when it comes down to it. On the iPad Air M2 model, you're getting an 11-inch display on this particular iPad. So it's the same liquid retina display. You're getting P3 wide color gamut on this one, True Tone, but you're also getting an anti-reflective coating on the iPad Air M2 model, which is actually very cool. Having that type of capability in and of itself is a very, very nice feature. And I do think if I'm going through buying an iPad like this, it's actually a very, very cool thing that you're getting inside of both these iPads, but definitely with the iPad Air M2 model, having that anti-reflective coating that the iPad 10 doesn't have is a very nice touch. Now, both these things are giving you Touch ID, which is great. I love having that, and it's basically in the same exact spot inside of these iPads as well. On the bottom, you're getting USB Type-C ports inside of both of these. They are not Thunderbolt ports, they're just standard USB Type-Cs. So basically what you'd expect on any other type of iPad, you can get on here too, but the pros are the ones giving you those Thunderbolt ports. On the backside, you're getting a single camera setup in the top left corner, which is great. We'll talk about those in a second. You're getting the Apple logos in the center as well, which is a really, really nice touch as well. It just looks kind of cool. But beyond that, that's kind of all you're getting between the outside. There's big things to keep in mind with iPads that are very different than iPhones. iPads are not giving you things like wireless charging or IP certification or anything like that at all. You're getting a pretty bare bones structure on both of these. And I will tell you, if you had an iPad 10 in your hand and you had an M2 iPad Air in your hand, to the average person, you probably wouldn't be able to tell massive differences between either one of these. In fact, even the front-facing cameras are landscape. So that's even a smaller thing to tell. At least with some of those older ones and the newer ones, you could see that some of the cameras were landscape, some of them were not. With these ones, they're basically built the exact same way, which is actually a pretty crazy thing in and of itself. So from the exterior body standpoint, that kind of covers it up here. Like I mentioned before, from a price tag standpoint, the iPad 10 is costing $349. The M2 iPad Air is costing $599. So even from that standpoint too, when you're looking at the price tags of these, they are also very, very different. Just from there, there's $150 differences. And even for the Wi-Fi plus cell model, that's also another very big difference when it comes down to it too. So there's a lot of differences here, but I'll tell you when it comes down to it, both of them are very, very similar when it comes down to the exterior, but they're very different when it comes down to the price tag. Now, from the camera side of things, both of these are very similar here too. And it is very crazy because when you're looking at one iPad and you're looking at the other, you would probably imagine to look for differences and similarities between them. These cameras are almost identically the same. So they are single 12 megapixel wide-angle cameras on the backside. So you can do 4K video on the backside of both of these, which is great. And you're getting almost the exact same 12 megapixel ultra-wide cameras on the front side. So this is something that's very interesting because the resolutions that you can film in, basically for the most part, you're basically getting the same exact filming resolutions. So it's the same ones that you can kind of think about on one. It's the same exact one that's available on the other one for the most part, which is actually pretty crazy. Now, I've never been the one to rely on my iPad for my cameras. There's been a couple times throughout the last couple of years. I can remember one time like 4 years ago probably where I used my iPad Pro to film a battery comparison. That was probably the last time I relied on a camera on an iPad. And that's really the only times I do it. The way you can kind of think about this is this camera on both these iPads are very similar to like an iPhone XR camera. The iPhone XR came out in 2018. That was a very long time ago. Most people probably have upgraded from their iPhone XRs and they're probably not using these iPads or those iPhones anymore. So if you have an iPhone 11 or newer, this includes the 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, iPhone 12 mini, any iPhone past that, those iPhones are going to be giving you a better camera experience, and even Samsung, a Galaxy S9 or newer, Galaxy S10 or newer, those cameras are going to be better than these iPads. So for the average person, you're probably not going to be using these iPads, but it is very nice that you do have that type of capability of having a decent camera on an iPad like this. So I like that capability in and of itself. Now from a software perspective, this is also a very big difference. The iPad 10 basically has the same type of chipset inside, kind of, has almost like an iPhone, 12 in a way. So that's kind of the same type of software longevity you're going to be getting. So that in and of itself is a big thing to keep in mind. With something like the M2 iPad Air, that's a desktop level chipset that particular iPad is giving you. So this in and of itself is another very big thing, that particular iPad is giving you the same type of chipset as, that's inside of the M2 MacBook Airs, the M2 MacBook Pros. It's a very, very good chipset inside of that. But the other difference is the software changes a little bit when it comes down to the Apple Pencil support. So both of them support Apple Pencil USB-C model, but the Apple Pencil 2 and Apple Pencil Pro are supported on the M2 iPad Air, whereas on the iPad 10, it only supports the Apple Pencil 1 and the Apple Pencil USB-C. So the software thing changes a little bit too, because if you're changing, if you're trying to use one Apple Pencil over the other one, I will tell you the Apple Pencil Pro and Apple Pencil 2 are significantly better than the Apple Pencil 1 and the USB-C Apple Pencil as well. Now, when it comes down to the performance side of things, like I said before, you're getting the Apple A14 bionic chip inside of both these particular, of the iPad 10, which is nice. But that M2 iPad Air with that M2 chipset is significantly better and faster in almost every single way. I think the Apple A14 bionic chip was very good at a time. When the iPhone 12s came out, it was a very good, strong chipset, and I really, really liked that chipset at that time. And I would probably tell you, for the average person, this is a very good performing iPad still. And I think for now, because of this price tag, it is actually a very good price and an appealing price coming from iPad 9 owners. For the iPad Air M2 model, this one is more than overkill for a lot of people's, performance levels. To be honest, I'm still currently using my M1 Pro MacBook Pro, which, it was the Pro model. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's a very, performance heavy, MacBook. But this iPad actually has a better chipset, technically speaking, in some ways, than that M2 iPad Air, which is insane. So I say that to say, from a performance level, you're going to be getting an overall significantly faster performing iPad on the iPad Air M2 model than the iPad 10. But if you're not really caring about how many cores and CPUs and all that stuff you have between one or the other, it's really not that big of a deal. The A14 Bionic was giving you 4 core GPUs. The M2 iPad Air is giving you 10. So if that's a big deal to you, then upgrade. Other than that, I don't think the average person really cares about that kind of stuff. So to sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you, I definitely would say in almost every single way you could think about it, the M2 iPad Air is giving you a significantly better performing device than the iPad 10 generation in almost every single way. But it does cost more money, and if you want to spend more money on a better iPad, then be my guest. But I would say there's probably better iPads in the used market that might be better. Like an M1 iPad Pro in the used market might be a better deal. That one does have an older chipset, but it is going to be a better device in some ways with a Thunderbolt port and so many other things. And that's probably going to run you around $650 to $700, a little bit more expensive than this. But those are options. I think the iPad 10 is a very good deal. It's a very, very good deal. And if the iPad Air M2 model was a 10 out of 10, the iPad 10 is easily like an 8.7 out of 10 in my opinion. So from that side, that kind of covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.